Today we're going to start a new project if you want to have a go at this. So, got the start of a new month, start of March. So we've got 4 weeks on this one. So this particular project is, the idea is something inspired by the Masters. So it's very, very broad, and it will really be down to you to do quite a bit of research and to kind of do a lot of it. But what I'll do is I'll do a few demos as we go along. And hopefully some of these ideas might be useful to you. May or may not. Okay. So I'll just talk a few options first. So the one I thought I would look at, well, I picked this one to start with. So I'm going to do a very quick demo of tonal painting. So I'm thinking, so a few different options. So looking to start with at how some of the old masters might have worked. I can't say they definitely all work the same way. But so I was thinking, what I'll demonstrate in a minute is some sort of tonal painting. So that was one from one of the photos I had. So I've got a few different examples here of different things. So one idea that you could take on is really just finding a picture and doing some sort of copy of it. And that's a very traditional way that artists learn their skills, their craft, their way of working. And it's something that I was encouraged to do when I was at college. I went to quite a traditional art school. Well, it was traditional at the time, then it changed radically. But that was one of the things that we were encouraged to do, to go to the art galleries, do some sketching, maybe do some sort of investigation into paintings. I can talk a bit more about that another week. So I'll use that one. But I know one or two people were quite interested in this painting, which I've done a couple of copies of for a few people. So I might also do a quick demo on that one as well. So there'll be a couple of demos that I'll work over the week. So that's one idea, was a straight copy. Another idea would be some sort of interpretation. So it could be that you take a particular artist's work or painting as a starting point, and you maybe do your version of it. So maybe you kind of do some sort of reinterpretation, reimagination, and I'll bring some examples of that in another week. Picasso would be a good person to look at for that, because he would take old master paintings and then do them in his Picasso style sort of thing. So that might be good to look at. Another way that you could work is to look at a particular artist's style. So that one was really looking at somebody like Jackson Pollock. You know Jackson Pollock's. So actually sort of did that as a workshop. I was asked to do a workshop on Jackson Pollock once. That's quite fun. This one, I think it's probably not that long ago since we did this particular project. And that was one of the demos I did last time with this project. So this was my version of South Church Park in Van Gogh style. Sort of thing. This is another example of what I'm going to do in a minute, just kind of wiping back and drawing in. And then this one was using like a Matisse Fauve style. So this one I actually did from a model, but I had the Matisse book next to me and just pick the colours out from a particular painting. So that's quite an interesting way of just trying to sort of investigate somebody's work. So there's a few ideas that you might want to explore as you go along. You may want to do work on one painting throughout the whole project, or you might want to dip in and just do little studies each week of different things. So how do you want to take it? So one idea that's been, it's worked quite nicely in the past, and people have quite enjoyed this as a project. This was when we were doing the hands and feet studies. But this idea of kind of having a board and wiping back into it and then painting, lights and darks into it. So I thought I just randomly looked through my references here, and as I say, if you want to use any of these references, you're very welcome to. But if you want a copy of it, I kind of need them for the other classes, but I can run off copies. So just put a little sticky note onto your copy that you can hang on to. Yeah. So there's 3 folders of those. The other resources I've got a couple of these calendars. Just want to delegate. That's fine. You're welcome to use these. Also, somebody gave me these, so we can take them apart different people want different pictures out of them, and we can just cut them up and take them apart. So, you know, they're there as well. And as I say, I've also got these techniques of the master's books. I've got 2 of these. It's really the same book. So again, if you want to look up particular artists and how they work, there's all sorts of information there. And I did have a look at Tonal before I came out, so I'll talk a little bit about it. But something like this, what I've done so far is I'm using oil paints, and you know, they were invented 500 years ago roughly, and have been the main painting medium that most artists have used ever since, I would say. Acrylics are quite, you know, a modern sort of plastic version of paint that were, I think they were invented in the 1940s, and I first came across them probably at the end of the 1970s, so that's the first time I'd used acrylic. But oil paints, you know, it's usually...
You can say 1890.
Yeah. Oil paints, I got given oil paints when I was about 10, so these are my kind of natural medium. So something like this, you might want to... So what I've done is I'm using the water mixable oils, used a bit of burnt sienna, and I've just worked that into a board. And you need something that's got a good, we've got another seat. Yeah, we can sit next to Lee. Good to see you. Looking nice and tan.
G'day, comments.
You need something with quite a good priming. So you don't want something that just sucks the paint in. So you need something that you can, so I mean this is literally just a bit of board that's had a couple of coats of emulsion paint. And what I'm doing is, just with a rag, I'm just wiping back the areas that I want slightly lighter. And actually I'm not overdoing it a bit. I want to keep a bit of shadow there and a bit in there really. So just sort of looking through here. You could use rag or something like these baby wipes are quite good too. It can be a bit more, yeah, they will lift it out a little bit better. So that's actually, the combination is quite good. So this will take some of it out, but not too much. But I think because the baby wipes have got moisture in them, they're taking a bit more. So it's quite a nice, so I'm working down to the chin, and then we've got this collar here. Move that over. And then I'll just go back in, just lift some more out. I actually find this quite an enjoyable way of working, and it's a way I wouldn't mind exploring a bit more of, to be honest. I think I'd quite like to try and shoot my fingers a little bit. So that's some of the lights. There's a little bit of light coming out here. We've got this little bit of light on the scarf. So you can see it's starting to emerge. And then what I'll do next is perhaps go for a, I mean that was all just put on the big brush. Just find a smaller brush. Something like that. That's a smaller brush. Don't want to go too small, but a little bit smaller. And then I could then mix a darker tone in. And I'll use a mixture of the burnt sienna and a tiny bit of burnt umber. Just want to get that, that's the highlight. So I want a little bit of shadow there. Soften that edge a bit. Start to get some of these darks in the eye sockets, across the eyelid. Perhaps getting this shape around here. Dark in there. And then the same around here. I'm not sure actually whether it's better to go in with the darks, but it's probably get some of the lights and then work in some of the darks, and then I could go back in and just lift little bits out. And the nice thing about this sort of working, I mean, this could just be underpainting, then you could put some colour over the top if you wanted, or you could just keep it as a tonal study, and you get this nice kind of glow to the paint because you've got this light beneath it. So that's a little bit of wonder there. Bit of shadow there. Yeah, and so on and so forth. Not me. Yeah, no, don't worry, don't worry.
That's bad off.
If you want to yeah, so you can just keep going like that. It's quite nice. And the nice thing is you can just push the paint around. If you've got this wrong, so I've got that eye wrong, I can just sort of smudge it down a little bit, soften it up, and then go back in. So rather than feeling like we've got to rely on a sharp pencil and very sharp lines, this is a really nice way to be able to just kind of push paint around. This works great with oil paints because you've got very slow drying time. Wouldn't work particularly well with acrylics because they're going to dry too quickly. Probably do something similar with charcoal or pastels. Right, so that's that one. And then moving on to the this round. So moving on to the turner, I very rarely paint on white. I find that sort of blindingly bright. But according to this, he started off painting on a darker tone, which artists did. What artists used to do is like have a bit of raw canvas and then they get a brown colour, a palette knife, and that's what they prime it with. But apparently later on he started using white and painting onto white. And I think the idea was to give this feeling of light coming through. I don't know if that worked or not. But, so I'll work in relation to this paint, this image, which about 4 or 5 of you have chosen in the different classes. I've got 1 or 2 more copies of this. For anybody who wanted it. Right, so apparently he really just started out with thin layers of wash. So again, this is quite a good way of working. These oils, they're water mixable oils. And apparently, instead of using browns and darker undertones, he would have used some sort of colour. So I'll start with a little bit of, perhaps a little bit of yellow ochre. And sketch out in this way, there's sort of yellows in the sky. I think really, probably just getting some colour everywhere is quite a nice way to work. I'm thinking background to foreground. A little bit of blues in places. Like this top corner's got blues in. Now the nice thing about working with oils is, like I say, you can move the paint around. This, if you paint quite thinly, you'll find this won't take too long to dry. It won't be like, it will be probably a day or half a day, something like that. Sometimes the paint sort of sits into it, almost gets absorbed into the canvas anyway. So you might be able to just do this as underpainting. And then the next layer, you could then start to build thicker paint, which is what apparently you did. And I'll demonstrate that next week, sort of using sort of big brushes and palette knives and thick paint. So that would be like the next layer. But to get everything just established where things are going to be and drawn out, just using thinner paints.
Is that with water?
This is with water. So these are with water mixable oils. And in a way, it's quite nice to do. I might next week just use my traditional oils, but I won't need to. What I don't particularly want is tons of solvent in the air, really. Whereas if I just paint thick, I don't have to wash the brushes. I can just use a knife and some brushes, 1 or 2 brushes. But thinning this paint, I don't want you know, you can put the traditional ones over the water mist. So this is quite a nice way to start. If you just want to start a light washy approach. That gives you an idea. Yeah.
All confused, all ready to go.
Yeah, totally.
Right, okay. Hope